Hi friends, we've got the battle of the betas. As you know, there have been 3 betas for 3 top games released in the last month or so. Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty Vanguard and Halo Infinite. I was lucky enough to get to play all 3 of these betas, and I wanted to share my thoughts on which beta was the best and which game I think will be the best out of these 3. Let's start with the first beta that I played. This was Call of Duty Vanguard. I'll be honest, this felt like Modern Warfare with a World War II skin on it. Not a bad thing, but given the game cost $70 and I already paid that amount for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it kind of feels like I'm paying for the same game twice. I should say there are some cool mechanics in Vanguard. I like the destructible scenery aspect. It kind of felt like Rainbow Six Siege, where you can shoot through and destroy certain walls, and I like that. It added something to the game, which I think some COD games were perhaps missing. The Vanguard beta also featured some really good modes, perhaps more so than many of the other betas. We got Champions Hill, a refreshing new game mode which is basically a gunfight tournament, and it also had the normal deathmatch as well as search and destroy, kill confirmed and domination. And while I wasn't amazed with the game itself, I did think they did a good job with the beta in terms of content and keeping it fresh throughout the length of the beta. I do feel like they need to do some work on the design and graphics. It's understandable because it is a beta, but they definitely need to touch up some of the detail. The footsteps were also really poor and definitely need a lot of work. I could barely hear enemy footsteps, but my own footsteps and my teammates' footsteps were so loud it was just off-putting. After the Vanguard beta came the Halo Infinite beta. This featured a classic Slayer mode as well as Capture the Flag and Stronghold. They also put out Big Team Battle. These were across 5 different maps, and I really enjoyed this Halo Infinite beta. It was a lot of fun, not just the original game modes, but the Big Team Battle mode was also really entertaining. I feel like the movement mechanics were really smooth and complete, and to be honest, if the game launches with these movement mechanics, I would be really happy with this game. I also liked the weapon mix. They brought back many of the classics for Halo, but they did feel quite modern. In addition to this, they also had the battle pass and store with cosmetics for us to try in the beta, and they gave us some free credits to test this out, which I thought was a really clever idea, and it gave a really good feel of how good the game can be, because actually being able to customize your Spartan and add an extra layer of personality really makes it a lot more interesting when you're loading into those games. Obviously, one big thing missing about the Halo Infinite beta was the campaign. The story is what makes Halo so special, and it was kind of sad to not get to sample even a small piece of the campaign. One issue I would say I did have, much like Vanguard, are the footsteps in Halo. The enemy footsteps aren't very loud, yet again, my own footsteps and my teammates' footsteps were much louder. And I just found this a little bit confusing, so I think they do need to touch up the footsteps for the Halo Infinite beta, much like they need to in Vanguard. The final beta was Battlefield 2042. I was most hyped to try this game, and also most disappointed by it. I should say I did have some fun playing Battlefield 2042, I didn't dislike everything. For example, I like the movement mechanics compared to previous Battlefield games, and the storms in the game created really clever game-changing dynamics. So I definitely think there's a lot of potential for a really great game here. However, this beta felt the least complete out of all 3. The other 2 you felt they could launch with the quality in the beta, and actually, they would be good games. But there's no way that this Battlefield beta could launch like this, and I see why they've delayed it. The design and the graphics are poor. Clearly the other maps, game modes and operators just aren't ready, and on top of this, there were so many bugs. Way more than we got in COD and Halo combined. For example, I was constantly receiving codenet errors, and there were these really weird bugs during the game. For example, where my parachute wouldn't deploy and I would just go splat into the ground, or where enemies would be dead but still standing completely upright or in weird positions, meaning if you're far away you can't really tell if they're alive or not. And these are just a few of the issues that I experienced, let alone many of the issues I've seen across different platforms, where I heard sometimes it's virtually unplayable. On top of this, the lack of cross-gen is really disappointing. You see, I'm on Xbox Series X, but I can't play with friends on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and because of this, the game was then filled with bots. However, the Battlefield bots are some of the worst bots I've ever seen. They would often do unexplainably stupid things, and at some points it was almost laughable at what they were doing. You could literally just watch them like you're watching a movie, and they would just do the most random of things, and this kind of took away some of the fun of the game. So if we look at it overall, who was the winner in the battle of the betas? Well, I think Halo Infinite was the big winner. The game felt ready. They literally could launch the game as it is, and I would be really happy with it. Yes, there were a few small bugs, but at least from my experience, none of the bugs were on the same level of those in Battlefield or even COD, and the mechanics in Halo as well as the graphics just felt really good and smooth, and that's why I think the Halo Infinite beta was the best beta. In second place behind this, I think I have to give it to the Call of Duty Vanguard beta. It gave a good full game experience, and while I wasn't amazed by the game itself because it didn't really feel any different to a normal Call of Duty game, I guess that's what you get from COD games anyway. So if we put that aside, I think the beta itself was fairly smooth, and besides from my issue with the footsteps and the graphics needing a touch of detail, everything else was pretty decent. So I've got to give some respect to the Call of Duty Vanguard beta. Sadly, that means the Battlefield 2042 beta is in last place. Interestingly, I do think the Battlefield 2042 beta has the most potential out of any of these games, and if they nail it for the full release, then this might well be the best game out of the three. But as we're talking about the betas specifically in this video, there was just too much wrong with it. Not just that the graphics and design were poor, but also the vast amount of issues people were having with the beta makes it hard to think of this as a success. Like I said though, I did enjoy the games that weren't buggy, perhaps even more so than COD. It's just that Halo and COD were so much smoother, and they felt more complete and had a lot more to offer than Battlefield's single map and single game mode. The good news is the Battlefield team have time to fix the issues now the game has been delayed, and I still think Hazard Zone sounds like it could bring something really fresh and new, and maybe even make the game worth buying on its own. However, we haven't really seen anything much about it, and we didn't get to test it in the beta, so for now we'll have to wait and see. I'll let you know if each game is worth buying when they're fully released, so keep a lookout for my review videos on those. For now though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.